All right, let's talk about something we all think about: change. I mean, who doesn't want to change something? Whether it's kicking a bad habit or maybe starting a good one. That drive for real, lasting transformation, well, it's pretty much a universal human thing. But, wanting to change and actually changing, they are two totally different ballgames.
So what's the secret sauce? What does it really take? We all have the best intentions, right? We make resolutions, we buy the self-help books, but that deep, meaningful change can feel just impossible sometimes. So is there a reliable method? Is there some kind of blueprint we can actually follow? Okay, let's really get into this.
So here's the good news. The sources we're digging into today all suggest that yes, change can be intentional. It can be structured. It's not just about, gritting your teeth and hoping you have enough willpower. It's about having a real plan, a framework to get us past those good intentions and into actual lasting transformation. Now, in a Christian context, this blueprint actually has a name: spiritual formation. And the key word here is process. This isn't a passive thing that just happens to you. The sources really stress that it's a deliberate journey, using specific, intentional practices or disciplines to literally shape who you are becoming.
Okay, but any good blueprint has to have a clear destination, right? If you're going to build something, you need to know what it's supposed to look like. So if you're going to transform, what are you transforming into? Well, the goal here isn't just about tweaking a few behaviors on the surface. It's about a deep, fundamental rewiring of how we think and how we see everything.
And this verse from the book of Romans just nails it. It draws this super sharp contrast. On one side, you've got conforming to the world's patterns, and on the other, you have being transformed by actively, intentionally renewing your mind. The mind, as one source puts it, is really the main event, the key battleground for change.
This entire journey of renewing the mind, this whole process of transformation, it's so central that it has a very specific theological name. It's called sanctification.
So what in the world is sanctification? Well, the Crew article gives us a fantastic, clear definition. And you got to notice the key words here. It's a lifelong process. This is not a quick fix. It's not a one-and-done event. It is the slow, steady, ongoing work of God transforming a person's entire being, their heart, their mind, their desires, to make them more like Him.
Now, to really get this, we have to make a really important distinction. In Christian theology, there's justification and there's sanctification, and they are not the same thing. Think of it like this. Justification is a one-time event. It's a legal declaration. It's the moment God changes your status from guilty to righteous. It happens in an instant. But sanctification, that's the lifelong process that changes your actual day-to-day condition. It's what makes you practically more righteous over time. So one is a change in status, the other is a lifelong transformation.
Okay, so if sanctification is the destination, how do we get there? I mean, what actually fuels this lifelong process? This is where we shift gears from the why to the really practical how. We need a toolkit.
And you really can't talk about this stuff without mentioning the theologian Richard Foster. Back in 1978, he published this landmark book that basically gave everyone a clear, accessible map for these practices. He organized them into a practical framework that people have been using for decades.
Foster starts with what he calls the inward disciplines. These are the practices that cultivate our inner world, right? They're all about nurturing our personal connection with God when nobody else is looking. You can think of this as strengthening the root system before the tree can grow.
Then you have the outward disciplines, and this is where that inner change starts to become visible in our everyday life. Practices like simplicity, which is about freeing ourselves from the tyranny of stuff, and service, which is about putting other people first, these are the visible fruits of all that inner work.
And finally, Foster talks about the corporate disciplines. And this is so crucial because it's a reminder that this whole transformation thing, it's not a solo mission. It's designed to happen in community through things like shared worship, honest confession, and celebrating together. We really are made to grow with other people. Okay, so we've got the goal, sanctification, and we've got the toolkit, the disciplines. But does this framework actually work in the messy real world? Let's move from the theory to the practice and check out a really fascinating case study.
So get this. A doctoral project documented a very real problem at a church called First Mount Olive Free Will Baptist. The volunteer leaders there were completely burned out. They felt spiritually stuck. I mean, they were serving like crazy, but they just didn't have the spiritual rhythms to sustain themselves. So the big question was, could a structured program based on these very disciplines actually make a difference for them?
And so they designed this 8-week experiment. And as you can see, the program took all those ideas we just talked about and turned them into a concrete week-by-week plan. They practiced journaling, meditation, fasting, community prayer. They put the entire toolkit to the test in a real-life situation.
So what happened? After 8 weeks of this intentional, structured practice, did anything really change for these burned-out leaders? Was it worth it?
The results, honestly, were pretty amazing. The study reported clear, measurable gains. You can see it on this chart. Participants grew significantly in their confidence in ministry, in their actual practice of scripture meditation, and in their habit of reflection. So this wasn't just a vague feeling, it was real, quantifiable progress.
But it wasn't just about the numbers. The personal stories were incredibly powerful. The study points out that participants reported these qualitative changes, things like a real, tangible increase in their sense of peace, a greater attentiveness to God throughout their day, and a renewed sense of clarity about why they were doing what they were doing.
So here's the bottom line, the big takeaway from all this. The evidence really suggests that real, lasting change isn't just a matter of luck or more willpower. A structured blueprint, built on these time-tested practices, and done intentionally with other people, it can lead to some seriously profound personal and spiritual transformation.
And that just leaves us with one final thought. If change isn't just something that happens to us, but something that can actually be designed, something that can be built, well, that raises a pretty big question for all of us, doesn't it? What's the first small intentional step you could take in your own blueprint?